Star Wars, Ahsoka.
Hello, welcome to Billy's Books. I'm going to do another Star Wars book. Ahsoka starts basically in the year after Order 66, so the Clone Wars have sort of just begun. She's on the run, as we know from the, maybe you don't know from the series, but she had separated from the Jedi Order, and a misunderstanding and perhaps some deception going on that she didn't appreciate. And Anakin tried to convince her to stay, but she didn't, which is kind of a foreshadowing of what would happen later with himself, though there, of course, the circumstances are somewhat different. Nonetheless, there's no doubt that her leaving, the mess that happened with her leaving the Jedi Order was definitely another brick in the wall for him. She's on the run in the Clone Wars or what have you, and even it's sort of more, the Clone Wars has shifted to, I guess now it's the Empire is being built. So she's on the run. She thinks that Anakin and Obi-Wan are both dead, and she thinks there's just basically no Jedi anymore, and she sometimes tries to feel out there, but there's nobody there. Bums her out a little bit, so she's hiding in the Outer Rim, and she had gone to a planet and stayed with a rich family, one of which had a young Force-sensitive girl named Hedala, and she got very attached to her. But then something happened, and she had to leave quick. The Empire showed up, and she bolted, and then she felt terrible about that afterwards. And she kept on thinking about Hedala when she went to the next planet out on the Outer Rim, which is another small planet of just a bunch of farmers. Actually, it's a moon of a planet, for the matter. But and she gets accepted by this farming community, and this whole time she's been calling herself Ashla, both at the other planet and this moon of a planet, this farming community, and they take her in as one of their own, and she befriends a lot of people. A lot of them are young. Miara is one of a sisters, and Miara is handy. She's very handy. She's good at building. She's a locksmith, and she's very good at it. Anyway, Miara says that Ahsoka, they talk about families and stuff like that. Well, she's like, well, you're part of our family now, even whatever happened before. And Ahsoka's like, you're not my family. And Miara's like, well, there's two kinds of families. This girl is half her age, has to explain, well, there's more than one kind of family. There's your blood family, and then there's your found family, or the friends that who really adopt you. And Ahsoka suddenly reflects on the Clone Wars, and she thinks about the clones calling each other brother, and she's like, oh. I think that these two concepts to her that these concepts are new to her. It shows a certain amount of the insulation that she had experienced by being a Jedi Padawan, or it's just a deficiency of her cultural background or the way she's built. I don't know. Anyway, she has been avoiding using the Force because she doesn't want to get detected by any Imperials who are looking for spare Jedis that survived Order 66. But she's like, I'm losing my touch, so she tries to meditate a lot, and meditating helps her keep sharp. Even though she keeps hiding on these obscure planets, the Galactic Empire, the Empire eventually shows up at her planet and start oppressing them, and doing whatever, and destroying their livelihood, and in sort of indenturing services to them and all that. So eventually they decide, like most planets that have Imperials show up, they try to rebel, and it gets messy, and she tries to advise these farmers on how to do stuff like that happens so often. And they don't trust her because she's not, they're like, she's hiding something we don't know, and she is hiding something. Which is her background, because she doesn't want to be detected, but they don't know that. So they don't trust her, and they create alternate plans for rebellion independent of what she's doing. So she's running one operation, and when she's not looking, the farmers are running another one, a much more ham-fisted one that's filled with flaws. Stuff goes down, and there's a big showdown, and she eventually has to use the Force to save some people. And that actually creates resentment, because she hadn't used the Force earlier when somebody was killed, and so they resent her for that. Still not knowing what her deal is, but they're like, oh, this is really interesting. So she has to leave that planet, goes back to Hedala, the one that she felt abandoned to before, And when she goes back to Hadala, Hadala says, "There was a shadow while you were away." And Ahsoka's like, "Oh, that's pretty weird stuff. Have you told anybody else?" She's like, "No, I'm just telling you," because somehow Hadala instinctively knows to tell Ahsoka, who's also Force sensitive. She confides in her. They just know. They have an instinct. It's the Force, man. You get it. But Hadala says, "How come you didn't tell anybody else?" And Hadala, this little kid, she says, "Well-traveled people always believe more things. They have seen more, so they believe more." I would say that Ahsoka, once again, is a pretty interesting character. She's pretty tough. You have to be pretty tough if you're Anakin's padawan. Ahsoka is great. If you can't do, review. What you gonna do when the satellites drop, when the satellites drop, when